Hi, I'm Asterales Sedai of the Yellow Archer. Here is a recap for non-book readers of Season 1, Episode 3, A Place of Safety, of The Wheel of Time on Amazon Prime. If you're like me and can't get enough positive Wheel of Time content in your life, please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Spoiler warning, I will be discussing characters and events up to Episode 3, but nothing that happens differently or later in the books. This is safe, as long as you've seen Episode 3. Let's go! This episode opens to a flashback. While it's certainly not new to film or TV, Rafe Judkins, the showrunner, has explicitly said time jumps will be used as a nod to series author Robert Jordan, who used this literary device in the book series too. Nynaeve regains consciousness as she is being dragged by a Trolloc. It drops her, and she turns to witness it approaching another injured Trolloc before brutally attacking and eating its comrade. This gives her the perfect opportunity to run, and she powers away in both fear and determination. She seeks refuge in the sacred cave we saw her cleaning from Episode 1. Nynaeve hides in the water as the Trolloc paces around her and sniffs the air. It appears this monster is smarter than your average Trolloc, as it not only stabs the water, but enters the pool as well. In an ultimate show of bravery, agility, and stealth, Nynaeve takes the Trolloc's own weapon and stabs it right in the chest. They fall into the pool together, and blood floats up in the same dragon's fang pattern from the Episode 1 sheep. She climbs out of the pool, shaking but defiant, and flips her braid to show she means business. Cue the amazing intro which was explained back in Episode 2. Back now to the current timeline, and Nynaeve is interrogating Lan at knife point. He's used to Moraine doing all the talking, and now he's the one trying to defuse a tense situation with only words. He's desperate, and asks if Nynaeve can use her village wisdom skills to heal Moraine. Totally underestimating her, Lan continues forward, saying, "We both know you won't," before Nynaeve lunges right at his throat. As a trained warrior, he's able to easily fend off her attempted killing blow, but is both surprised and impressed that she actually tried. Nynaeve doesn't stop there, and bites his arm, forcing him to knock her out. Catching back up with Rand and Mat, they've crossed the river outside Shadar Logoth and have climbed up a mountain range to reach a higher vantage point. Rand is yelling his lungs out, but Mat cautions him that yelling may not be the brightest idea when there are forces still hunting them. After a disagreement on whether they should head home or onward, Rand declares it won't be home without the others, and Mat follows him in resignation. Perrin and Egwene are stumbling their way through a desolate grassy plain. We hear wolves howling, and Egwene is worried they are following them. Perrin tries to light a fire to help keep them back, but in his exhausted desperation, he's unable to make a spark with his knife and flint. Egwene closes her eyes, and she begins mentally clearing her mind and trying to surrender, just as Moraine taught her in the last episode. A moment later, the fire sparks alive. Perrin isn't sure if that was him or her, and jokes that Egwene should channel them some food or water. They decide to continue onward, as Perrin knows that Rand will go wherever he thinks Egwene will be. Back in the forest, it's a lovely tranquil day, with birds singing, along with Nynaeve bound and gagged to a tree. She is absolutely fuming, and likely plotting the 1,000 things she will do once she's untied. Lan continues to tend to an injured Moraine, then approaches Nynaeve, offering her water and asking again if she's ready to help. She replies that depends on whether she will get what she wants, and Lan is perplexed that she can still make demands in her position. She retorts that it's not a demand, it's a threat. Despite being tied up, she knows who holds the cards in this exchange. Once released, Nynaeve gathers herbs from the forest around her. It's clear there's something on Lan's mind. Asking how she was able to track him, this is a big admission of weakness from Lan to someone he hardly knows. It doesn't pay off though, and Nynaeve does not give away the answer. She gets to work mixing up a poultice and gives us a bit more information about the special bond between an Aes Sedai and her warder. They both share what each other feels, so she warns him to prepare to feel the pain of what she's about to do. She squeezes out a disgusting green liquid. Is that pus, or just the stuff Lan was putting in? And replaces it with her own concoction. Moraine groans, but Lan doesn't even flinch. Obviously, this guy can take a lot of pain. Perrin wakes up to find himself back in his Two Rivers home where there is a storm outside. As he approaches the forge, the same shadowy figure with glowing eyes is seen briefly in the window. We get another glimpse of Shadowy Dude following Perrin inside. He enters the forge to see a wolf feasting on the entrails of his wife. She turns to face him with glassy eyes and whispers, "I know." Egwene wakes him for real, saying the wolves are near. They continue to run with the wolves close behind before coming to another open plain. The wolves stop, and Perrin and Egwene make their escape. Up in the mountains, Rand is comfortable and warm in his woolen coat, while Mat shivers in his threadbare garment. He refuses to swap coats, even for a while. It's a telling moment. For most people, it's hard to imagine what someone is going through unless they've been in their shoes. They reach the crest to find a town on the other side, but this is not the Two Rivers. There's a dead man hung up in a cage, and Mat lingers to note that there's a large jewel attached to his belt. They make their way into the inn, where they learn that neither Egwene nor Perrin have come through. The only new person in town is a glee man, a travelling entertainer who proceeds to captivate the entire room with a solo song. One of the lines he sings is, "He caused the whole world's breaking." Is this a song about the legendary dragon? It looks like Mat is out of his league regarding light fingers when the glee man shows him his missing purse. If you were watching closely, there were a couple of quick bumps where a stranger first stole Mat's purse, followed by the gleeman stealing it back a moment later. He doesn't return it to Mat, claiming it's an important if expensive life lesson for the boys. With the wolves still trailing them, Egwene and Perrin come across wagon tracks. Egwene notes that it's almost like the wolves were guiding them to find the tracks, and she is eager to pursue this new discovery. Perrin is more cautious, but agrees to follow the tracks to see where they lead. Mat is despondent at losing his money. He knows what it's like trying to live with almost nothing. They both approach the innkeeper, who is making an everlasting soup with any and all leftovers. They ask if they can have a bed for the night, either with money or by working. She puts them to chopping logs, and there's a bit of a misunderstanding retaking turns. It's the wood mat, before Rand gets started. Mat points out that he didn't agree to anything and walks away. Rand confronts him about his attitude. They have a heated argument, and Mat leaves to go back inside. Once inside, the innkeeper tells him to at least serve beer if he's not up for any other work, and they get to talking. She questions him about where they're from and where they're headed. He lies and doesn't admit to being from the Two Rivers. Back in the forest, it's Nynaeve's turn to make an admission of weakness to Lan. It looks like despite her herbs, the poison might be too strong for healing. Lan leaves to get help, and Nynaeve is surprised he'd trust her alone with Moraine. Maybe he's just really desperate. Reaching the end of the wagon tracks, Egwene and Perrin are confronted by a group of strangely dressed people with large dogs. Both initially draw their knives, and while Perrin puts his away, Egwene keeps hers out. The two strangers ask, "Do you know the song?" in a ritualistic tone, but Egwene and Perrin don't know what to say or do. One of their younger members breaks the tension by telling them the responses they should make. Egwene is able to repeat it word for word, and Perrin follows up with the important bit. We don't know the song. These whimsically dressed people with their colourful wagons are known as the travelling people. While they freely offer food and shelter to anyone who seeks them, it sounds like they also have a bad reputation for stealing both money and children, something their male elder says is simply not deserved. The innkeeper comes out to find Rand chopping alone, and shows him to a room for the night, where he and Mat can work out their relationship troubles privately without anyone hearing a thing. Rand jokes that if he liked men, he would have better taste than Mat. Lan gallops through the forest and reaches a cliff top where he spots a group of tents. This is what he was looking for. He returns to tell Nynaeve the good news. Moraine is still very ill and mumbles a name, Swan. Who is Swan? It's night in the mining town, and Mat approaches the dead man in a cage. The glee man is following behind him, and he deftly slides a knife out of his sleeve. This guy's got the moves. He swaggers up confidently and picks Mat out for being a farm boy from the Two Rivers. In this world, a savvy person can note a person's accent and their style of clothes to give away where they're from, much more than their physical appearance. The exception he notes is that red hair is very rare outside the Aiel, which this man is. Mat doesn't know much about Aiel, apart from what he's heard in stories, but the glee man gives him a quick lesson. They may be fighters, but they have a code of honour, as well as a visual signal. Veil up equals ready to kill, veil down equals not intending to fight. He deduces that this man did not die in a fair fight, and he's come to bury him for a final gesture of dignity. Demanding the truth from Mat, Mat admits that he is here to steal the dead man's treasure. Earlier in the episode, Mat said that he would beg, borrow, or steal to get back to his sisters, and here we see the reality of what that looks like, as he rummages through the dead man's body for trinkets. The innkeeper is getting cozy with Rand in the room, asking all the same questions she asked Mat earlier. Rand's on a different page though. He's having an existential crisis. He doesn't know what's right, and he doesn't know what to do. So much of his world has changed since Beltane. She leans in for the kiss, but is rejected. Standing up, she changes tack, shutting and locking the door with a click. She regrets that braiding her hair made her look too much like her, and name drops Egwene. Rand is alarmed. How does she know Egwene? He reaches for a weapon, but she is too quick, and wins the scuffle, brandishing his sword as he backs up against the door. Outside, the Glee Man performs a small oration over the buried man. He asks Mat for his name, and gives his as Tom Merrilin. Mat asks him for his money back, and Tom is ready to return it, until he realizes that it's already gone. He grins approvingly as he realizes that Mat has pulled a fast one on him, and he swaggers away. Inside the room, Rand is banging at the door and shouting for help. The innkeeper tells him it's pointless, but that's not going to put off our stubborn Two Rivers man. Rand doesn't give up, and escapes by busting the whole door down as the innkeeper watches in disbelief. Once outside, he bumps into Mat and they start running. The innkeeper gives chase and corners them in a quiet yard. She tells them that she sees them in her dreams and that one of them is the dragon. Mat and Rand realize that now there is a second stranger who has said this. Maybe Moraine wasn't making a bad joke after all. She admits that she serves the forces of darkness, and she does so because she wants all the pain and suffering in the world to stop. Sounds suspiciously like throwing the baby out with the bathwater though. She tells them that one of the eyeless, aka a Fade, is coming for them. One? That means there's more than one of those dark riders we've been seeing? This episode's gasp moment is a knife appearing in her throat. It was thrown from a considerable distance behind her by none other than Tom Merrilin. He did claim earlier, "You'll bleed out before you could lay a finger on me." Rand and Mat remain rooted to the spot. It's all a bit much for our farm boys to process. Tom offers them to leave with him, saying they will not be safe with dark friends and a Fade chasing them. Mat's eager to join, but Rand is less keen. He retrieves his sword and stares in dismay at the woman's dead body. Back in the forest, Lan and Nynaeve ride up to a narrow pass with Lan supporting an injured Moraine. Guarding the pass on the cliff tops are 3 women, 2 dressed in green and 1 dressed in red. Another mounted woman in red approaches them. It's Alexandre Sedai, the same woman from episode 1 who chased down the running man. She recognizes Moraine and taunts her that she's too late to help. They've successfully captured a man who was calling himself the Dragon Reborn. Moraine is stunned. Has she failed her quest? She strains to get a glimpse of the man they are towing along in a cage. It's not the same guy from episode 1. He is hunched over, but as they get closer, it's clear this is not the look of a defeated man. That is our next cliffhanger ending. Could this man be the feared Dragon Reborn? Thanks for watching. If you liked my spoiler-free summary of this episode, please like this video and subscribe to my channel for future updates. And remember, yellows make the world a better place.